Hello there and welcome, my fellow soul bards. It's been a while. It's been about a week since we did this thing. How have you been? Welcome in. Go ahead and grab a drink if you want. We got a lot to talk about today, everybody. We got a lot to talk about today with Writing to Heal. My name is Jenna O'Malley, and I am grateful to be able to do this with you all today. If you want to check out everything I do, there's the website, or head over to my main YouTube channel of the same name. A lot of good is going on. If you have any comments, questions, or if anything's resonating with you, feel free to go ahead and join in on the conversation. And of course, like, share, drag your friends along for the ride. Hello, Jess. Familiar faces. It's good to see you. It's good to see you as well, Heather. I'm glad you have a snack today. I'm glad. It's a good idea. I had cookies around here somewhere. I must have left them upstairs. Oh, well. Later. So what are we talking about today? As we kind of preluded to their soapboxes, I'm not necessarily talking about the kind you need for cleaning either. So let me do some definitions here right quick. Soapboxes, colloquially here in the US and other English-speaking parts of the world, means that it's something that is a pet peeve of yours, or even just a peeve. It's something that is important to you. In writing, we sometimes also call this personal bleed, something that I hyper-focus on, or something that resonates uber deep with my soul can sometimes end up in my writing and it not even intend to be. For example, a major theme of my books is the power of the female representation in leadership and the power of the female and feminine powered voice. Hence why book 3 has Lee, who is not physically male, presenting as feminine. Okay? It allows for that too. It's a safe space for that too. And a lot of people said, Jenna, we know you're the youngest and the only girl out of you and your 4 brothers, but does it really matter to you that much? I mean, I've said it on my other channel and here before. I grew up with parents who were super old school. They believed a female had certain roles in the house. Rule number 1, you are to be seen, heard, no, seen, okay, preferably not seen. You are to clean up after your brothers. Guess who did more chores than any of the other siblings and who was the youngest? Now, to be fair, that's a slight skew on my part because I have brothers who were working men when I was walking. You know, I have a brother who has a son who's 4 years my junior. To be fair. So his priorities on house cleaning were a little different. He and the second eldest brother soon got married to women who are stay-at-home moms. That's their mindset. That's what I was I don't want to say groomed because that's definitely not the right word at all. Groomed would imply my parents had picked someone out for me to marry, and that wasn't the case. They didn't care who I married, so long it was a dude and I had a traditional wifey role. Boy, have times changed, right? Boy, have times changed, mom and dad. And even in my parents' relationship, they were not accurate to that because my dad was disabled. My dad worked up until his late 40s. When I was 2, a couch pinned him to a wall, shattered his shoulder. He had a fake shoulder from it, fake collarbone. Like, he had to have massive reconstructive surgery. It was bad. So they were kind of forced. This is kind of the way it feels. Conditioned, trained is often the way I word it. I was trained well for my husband. I'm very type A Virgo, and it's in part because I'm Virgo. But it's also, my mom was a stickler for cleaning growing up, like to the point that if she or my dad took a military white glove to it and it came off gray, you had to re-clean the whole room. Like, if you didn't tuck your corners in your bed, mom yelled at you every time that she came into your room. And a lot of parents don't have that mindset. I like the modern day take. I call it modern day take. It's not really so modern. It's been around for a while because my husband kind of grew up with this. By comparison, his room. My mother-in-law didn't care as long as it wasn't a hazard. As long as he could safely walk around and it wasn't a safety hazard of some kind, she let him have a little bit of, so what, you didn't clean it for a couple of weeks. Not my parents. So I know that their thinking was out of date by example. But a lot of that has bled not just into one of my female characters. Nefturi doesn't want to be princess for a reason. And it also is in all of them. It's why Rochelle is literally Supermom in season 2. Yeah, the vampire ends up with a werewolf for a reason because they have a baker's dozen worth of kids. Another personal bleed into my life. I come from a big family, so I had to make sure that at least one set of the parents had a big family. So, personal bleed, soapboxes. Do we have them? Do we carry them around? Some of us like to wear them on our sleeve, or better yet, as if it's tattoo ink. Some of you have taken a gander and seen one of my tattoos, and you're like, oh, Jenna, I know what that semicolon means. If you know what it means, I see you too. I see you too. I'm still here, and so are you. And that's all that matters. So, little tiny things slip into our character's persona as parts of us or other people we know. Sometimes we actively set out to memorialize people, but I don't think it's always like that. Exactly. You can take care of it in your pace, in your time, in your stride. So, soapboxes, do they affect our passions? Sometimes they affect our ability to even focus for a prolonged period of time. For some of us, our soapboxes need to be journaled about before we actually settle down into doing some work for the sake of concentrating on said work that's in front of us. Sometimes it becomes our passion. There is, and I'll talk more about it with a coaching class I'm doing next month called So You Want to Be an Author Tuber. There's this Japanese concept called an ikigai. It's essentially a cross section of 4 things. What do you enjoy doing? What do people need you to do for them? / what will they pay you to do? What is something out there that's like something you can supply to the world versus what's something you love doing? And for me, it all adds up to a combination of the same reason why I went into becoming a K-12 high school English teacher and middle school developmental reading specialist over the last 10 years. I want to help people learn to love reading and writing as a mode of expression for the sake of helping themselves process and heal through life. That hasn't changed, but I realized a course correct with my career change I'm going through is in order. Leaving traditional teaching and making the world my classroom by being a coach for modern day soul bards looking to express healing through their craft and their business and their social media is kind of leading to me having the same conversations with adults that I've been having with teenagers who really didn't care to listen half as much. Do you see the difference here? I'm really just changing my audience who's listening to the audience who probably needed to hear me more. I'm changing that segment of my ikigai. The other 4 sections are mostly the same. It's just, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. The kids don't care yet enough, most of them. Let me go to the age groups that do. So that's kind of how it can affect your passion at even different stages in your life, and it can become your purpose. Should your soapbox be your purpose? I mean, this is why some people become doctors. This is why some people are nurses. Some people are therapists. Oh, goodness. Almost every therapist I've had went into therapy because they themselves at one time needed a therapist. All the teachers I have ever had as a student at one time needed to be taught themselves. And that's why I want to go ahead and pivot and help authors to instill more purpose into their own writing. This is why I resonate with Heart Breathing's writing community better than I do any other writing community on the internet. I kid you not. This is why I stayed on Facebook instead of Discord. See, it's okay for it to affect your purpose, and it's okay for that to change. One of my favorite artists of all time, her name is Charlotte Vessels. She is European, and she's a metal goddess. I call her my lady vampire because she is that nerd. And she wrote this song called Masterpiece. And one of my favorite lines, I often put it on my, I didn't this quarter, but I often put it on my vision board for Sarah Cannon's HB90 bootcamp tasks. And it says, I believe I can be a new me from time to time. And that includes reassessing my ikigai and my purpose and my passion. Are they all in balance? I mean, it's okay if they're a couple of degrees off center, a couple of days a month, but if it's every day of the week, why am I trying to fit my awesome square self into everybody else's rounded around the edges circle? I've listened to Sarah Cannon say the words, writing and your business about writing is like a buffet. Take what you want. A lot over the last 6 weeks. A couple of us had. And I've taken that and leveled it up to my life. In the buffet, I am feeding myself on the daily. That is life. What's in my mug? Often it's caffeinated stuff that has sugar that my PCOS really shouldn't tolerate nor have. I know I do like plain black coffee. Why do I keep putting the sugar that I really don't need in there then? Is that in alignment with me wanting to, the purpose of healing my body to be a mother? That applies to, is working the job I'm working right now? Is writing the book I'm writing right now? Is creating the content I'm creating right now? Is it to market, and am I okay with that? If it resonates with your soul, I'm not going to judge you. This is not a judgment call. Because for some people, that is totally part of their soul's intent in their business, and there's zero issue with that because they too still do a lot of good. But do you have to be what the market is when the market can literally change not just month to month, but week to week in some cases, and some algorithms hour to hour? There's a such thing that we need to acknowledge in our purpose and in fighting our audience, that people who are in the video game community, specifically in the speedrunning community, know well. It's called the human limit. Now, mind you, gamers are working with computers, with tech daily, so they routinely contend with what their fleshy meat sack of a body will let their souls do. Word it that way. So, with that being the case, are you building a passion and a purpose together in the buffet of your life and in the buffet of your business? You see where I'm going here? That allows you to do with what your human 3D body is letting you do. For the sake of growing not just your audience, but serving your audience appropriately. Are you being authentic in that? Do you need to have your soapboxes there? Some of us, depending on what we write, probably would sell a lot better if we took out all the isms in our stories. That's why in my About Me section on my webpage and in the back of my books, I'm very forthwith. You're going to encounter everything you don't like about how women are treated, about how governments are run by a minority versus a majority, how cultures and racism still exist. If you don't like that stuff, you're not going to like my books. Sorry. I was born in inner city Baltimore. Lived there first 8 years of my life, walking distance to Camden Yards, Oriole Park, Camden Yards in the Inner Harbor. I think it affected me. This, you freed yourself from trying to fit, yes, the book you're working on to the market. The market's going to change by the time you finish it, honey. Take it from someone who's not just an author, but who's also an editor. I see the gambit. I edit the gambit, is what I tell everybody for a reason. Because the market changes too quickly for me to only be good at editing one genre. And here's my rule. I will edit anything under the condition I can tell you that the content of it bothers me. And very few things on the content end bother me. If it's nonfiction and has a lot of numbers, I suck at math. Don't ask me to double check your math. I will double check your grammar. That's it. And if it's fiction, I will touch everything except certain uses of certain types of domestic violence. I'm looking at you, erotica authors. So I'm very specific. There's 2 or 3 things I cannot do as an editor, and it's I know my human limit is why. And therefore, I also know what the markets look like. They are vast. They are ever, wow, on the daily. I mean, goodness. One friend of mine literally said, I was number 1 in 2 of my keyword categories for 2 hours on Amazon, and that was it. 2 hours, not even a full day. And I'm like, geez, I didn't realize they changed that fast. Now, it could have been she just caught the last 2 hours of that 24-hour period, right? That, to be fair. So double check your passion, your purpose, and your audience. Do they need to know about your soapbox? And do you have to force yourself into market? If it's part of your plan, so be it. If not, so be it. And then how do soapboxes affect what we can handle short term, long term? That's the human limit, but it's also this ideology of burnout. Sorry about that, everyone. I thought I was going to sneeze again. Our culture, unfortunately, tends to idolize burnout a little too much, like as if it's a trophy, and it's not. And it's not. The most I wanted to say, I'm looking for a link here in my big old documents of links. A friend of mine, Devin, most of you know Devin Gambrill Clark and Kay Parquet. They did a talk on avoiding burnout a while back. And it kind of really goes into your human limit being, as Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings might say, how far have you spread yourself for how long? You know, I mean, there's 1,001 ways to, avoid burnout. Something as simple as, should I really be drinking coffee? Should there be water in there at 5:30 at night? Something as simple as knowing, can I or should I write to market? Should I put myself through the torture of whatever I cannot handle? Probably not. Know what you can handle, short term and long term, everybody. You've been worth every ounce of joy you give yourself. And your joy of being should start being your job. So go ahead, make your focus more about what gets you into the chair with a smile on your face. Pick your battles, pick your soapboxes, and let the ones that exist. I wondered if you were listening, my friend. Be realistic. Be realistic. Thank you all for taking care of you. I expect to see you around here on my other channel soon.